So picture this. This dude goes on dates with women, and instead of picking up the check, he picks up their life savings. Yeah. He scams them out of their money, and not pocket change either. We're talking nearly $1 million. So let's talk about this guy. His name is Daylon. When this story starts, Daylon is about 32 years old, living in Arizona. And bro, let's not sugarcoat it, he's kind of a turd. He's already spent a big chunk of his life in prison for theft and gang-related activity. But in 2013, Daylon finally gets out. He's a free man, and immediately he's got a problem. He's broke. No money, no job, no plans to get one either. Because, let's be real, ain't nobody got time for that. So instead of going straight, Daylon decides to go strategic. He becomes a con man. And his targets? Lonely women. Daylon gets to work. He hops online and starts creating dating profiles. Match. Be people meet. Plenty of fish. Tinder. You name it, he's on it. Multiple profiles. Multiple platforms. And of course, he's not using his real last name. Can't have anyone Googling their way into his criminal past. On these profiles, Daylon sells a dream. He presents himself as a wealthy stockbroker, a successful investor, a man with his own investment company. But here's the twist. He makes it very clear he's not just looking for a one-night thing. No. He's looking for real love. And that works. Because pretty quickly, Daylon starts getting matches. A lot of them. And he begins talking to these women, learning about them, studying them, figuring out who has money and who has good credit. And once he finds the right target, he sets up a date. On these dates, Daylon turns the charm all the way up. Almost immediately, he starts talking himself up, bragging about his success, his investment company, his big money lifestyle. He's always on the phone, pretending to talk to investors and clients whenever his date is nearby. He even sends photos of himself on planes, supposedly traveling to meet clients or out at expensive dinners doing business. And it works. These women are impressed. They believe him. Then Daylon slowly shifts the conversation. He starts asking about credit scores, about buying houses, cars, student loans, financial stress, dreams of being debt-free. And somehow none of this sets off alarm bells. Because Daylon, he's a smooth talker. And then comes the big sell. He tells them that if they just give him a little bit of money, he can invest it for them. Turn it into something bigger, something life-changing, enough to wipe out their debt and fund the future they've always wanted. And it sounds legit. So the money starts coming in. Thousands of dollars at a time. One woman goes all in. She liquidates her entire 401k and hands Daylon $92,000, believing she's about to make $15,000 a month in passive income. 2 months later, Daylon vanishes. Another woman invests almost $500,000, and almost immediately, Daylon takes every cent. Because surprise, Daylon isn't investing anything. He's not a stockbroker. He's not licensed. He doesn't own an investment company. Instead, he's funding a fantasy. A nice house in Phoenix, a BMW, a Porsche, a brand new Jeep, casinos, nightclubs, strip clubs, bottle service every weekend, VIP treatment everywhere he goes. To everyone around him, Daylon looks like a rich, successful businessman. But every dollar of that lifestyle is stolen. And that's still not the worst part. Some of these women don't have large amounts of cash, but they do have great credit. So Daylon keeps dating them, keeps playing the role. And quietly, he starts taking out loans in their names. Loans he never pays back. Their credit gets destroyed. Cars get repossessed. Homes are lost. Some women are forced into bankruptcy without even realizing what happened until it's too late. And as if all that wasn't enough, Daylon and one of his friends come up with another scheme. They steal the personal information of people who have died and create duplicate credit cards in their names. Then they go on spending sprees, luxury stores, hotels, thousands of dollars at a time. And because the victims are dead, no one notices. All while Daylon is still dating, still scamming, still ghosting women once he's taken everything he can. By the time this all starts unraveling, Daylon has stolen money from 13 different women, totaling $1.8 million. And for a while, it looks like he's untouchable. Until, as you might expect, he angers the wrong people. Women start comparing stories. One of them creates a Facebook group dedicated entirely to exposing Daylon, posting his photos and warning others to stay away. Other victims connect, team up, and go to the police. And finally, one woman reports him to the FBI. That's when everything starts to collapse. Investigators dig in and confirm what we already know. Daylon isn't licensed. He's not investing anything. He's just stealing money and blowing it at strip clubs. Even while the investigation is underway, Daylon keeps scamming until he targets one last woman. A recently divorced woman who meets him online, believes the story, and gets scammed just like the rest. But this time, she files a police report. And finally, Daylon gets arrested. After his arrest, the Attorney General's office in Phoenix releases a statement encouraging other victims to come forward. And they do. More stories. More charges. In the end, Daylon takes a plea deal, and he's sentenced to 15 years in prison. Remember when that cheating couple got caught on the kiss cam at the Coldplay concert? What really happened that night? And did those two stay together? Now, this story starts with this woman, Kristen. Kristen is about 53 years old, living on the East Coast. And one day in 2024, something pretty cool happens to her. She goes on a job interview for this billion-dollar data company called Astronomer, and she ends up meeting the company's CEO, this guy Andy. Andy and the company eventually hire Kristen to work as head of HR, which now makes Andy her boss. Soon, she and Andy are working together and talking every day like normal coworkers. And apparently, Kristen gets attracted to Andy. Here's the thing, though, she's actually married. However, it's not really that simple. Her marriage isn't going all that well. In fact, she and her husband are officially separated. Jane. So at work, Kristen chats with Andy and talks to him about her separation. And Andy tells her that his marriage isn't going very well either. And they actually bond over this. And over time, they grow closer and closer. And even though Kristen knows they can't date because, he's her boss and she's the head of HR, and that would be an HR nightmare for the company, Kristen apparently can't help but have romantic thoughts about Andy. Anyway, then at some point in 2025, Kristen's friends give her tickets to a Coldplay concert. And when she gets an extra ticket, she knows exactly who she wants to invite as her +1. Her boss, Andy. So she goes and she asks him, and surprisingly, he says yes. And Kristen is probably all excited to go out with her secret crush for the first time. But then, on the way to the concert, Kristen gets a text from her daughter. And that text is telling her that Kristen's husband, the one she separated from, is going to be at the same Coldplay concert. And Kristen is probably thinking, it's not a big deal. It's a little awkward, but, there are a lot of people there. He probably won't even see her. So Andy and Kristen arrive at the concert. And, it's Coldplay, so the stadium is packed. They're enjoying the band, having some drinks, getting a little tipsy, and dancing around. And since they're in a private VIP section, Kristen feels like no one will see them. And there, things start to get a little flirty between her and Andy. And they end up kissing, which, as the head of HR, kissing your boss is a big no-no. But who cares? Who's going to know? Am I right? Andy is standing behind her, and she takes his hands and wraps them around her. And Kristen is so focused on Andy that she doesn't hear Coldplay's lead singer, Chris Martin, on stage announce that they're going to put some fans in the crowd up on the Jumbotron as part of the show so that he can, sing to them or whatever. And that is when Kristen looks up and sees herself on a giant screen in front of 50,000 people. And their reaction lets the entire stadium know that they were doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing. So Kristen's good time suddenly turns into panic. She knows her estranged husband is in the crowd, and he must have seen her. And, that's pretty awkward. While Andy, he's having problems too. He's also married. What if someone saw him and tells his wife? And then it dawns on both of them. What if someone from work is here at the concert and just saw them? Andy and Kristen could get reported and lose their jobs. So immediately, they leave the concert. They drive back to Kristen's place, and there they get on her computer and start writing a joint email to the board of directors explaining what had happened. Because, they're trying to save their jobs. and they work on this email for a while. Then, around 4 a.m., Kristen gets a text from her husband, the one she separated from, and he sends her a screenshot of the Jumbotron footage that someone had uploaded to TikTok. And so this footage of her is on the internet. So not only is the board of directors going to find out about this, but the whole world is about to find out. And overnight, this footage of them starts getting traction, and it blows up, getting over 100 million views across many platforms in just a few days. I mean, this story is everywhere online. Traditional news outlets are talking about it. Late-night talk show hosts are making jokes about it. People go and start posting comments about it on Kristen and Andy's LinkedIn pages. People start reenacting it on the jumbo screen at other sporting events and concerts. And poor Kristen. She can't believe this is getting this much attention. Like, every time she picks up her phone or turns on the TV, there the footage is. Meanwhile, Astronomer, the billion-dollar data company that Andy and Kristen work for, the executives are watching all this go down, and they're wondering how to publicly respond as a company because, this is making them look bad too. Like, should they fire Andy and Kristen? Should they say something to the public? Well, at the end of it all, they decide that they want to cash in on all the attention that this is bringing them. So instead of playing it down, they add fuel to the fire. They go and hire Gwyneth Paltrow, the famous actress, the actual ex-wife of Coldplay's lead singer, to do an ad for their company. And the ad basically makes fun of the whole Coldplay kiss cam situation. And so Kristen sees this ad, and she gets all pissed off at Gwyneth Paltrow for doing it. But, whatever, there's not much she can do. And so she's hoping that now everyone has had their laugh and, maybe the public can just move on and forget about all this. Until, for some reason, this is one of those memes that people online just can't seem to let go. And from there, random people decide to make Kristen and Andy's life a living hell. People start creating fake Facebook profiles using Kristen's husband's name and Andy's wife's name. People start messaging their spouses, which forces the spouses to have to delete all their social media accounts. People start spreading rumors and conspiracies about them. Like that Andy is allegedly wanting to sue Chris Martin for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. People even start stalking Kristen, and some of them start driving by her house at all hours of the day. Sometimes people call just to harass her and call her a homewrecker and tell her that she needs to watch her back because they know where she lives. In fact, Kristen gets 500 or 600 calls a day from TV producers and news channels and whoever, asking her questions about the state of her marriage. While paparazzi park outside her house and wait for her to come outside so that they can get a picture, trying to see if she's wearing a wedding ring or not. And so, poor Kristen. She waits weeks before she feels safe enough to even go outside again. And pretty soon after all this, Kristen officially finally gets a divorce. But Andy, however, actually doesn't. He appears to have reconciled with his wife, and they end up staying together. But ultimately, Andy ends up resigning from his job as CEO of Astronomer. And Kristen, she knows that she can no longer be the head of HR. So she resigns as well. And after all that, the two of them agree that it would probably be best if they never spoke.